some yoga and feel better. It is Monday, so remember, if everybody knows, if you're comfortable to take your mask off, go right ahead on your mat. I'm going to go ahead and have my mask off today, which is kind of like heaven. And I'll put it on, and I won't be moving around still. Which that's the one thing I'm really looking forward to being able to do eventually, to be able to see you all better, to not always stay on my mat. But right now I'm still gonna stay on my mat and wait until the next step, I guess. I don't know. We'll just go with the flow, right? So get comfortable and let yourself, if you need to stretch your legs out, do it. I'm going to start in a chair. If you don't want to be in a chair, sit comfortably on the floor. Use blankets too if you need. If you're home watching, make sure you have blankets handy there if you need them, or if you have blocks. And then just close your eyes. Let yourself release all the way up through the top of your head. Feel your sitting bones reaching down into the surface you're sitting on. You know, if it helps you to kind of shift a little bit side to side to feel both your sit bones there, do. And then see if you can just let your hands come into your lap. Turn your palms up and cup your hands one on top of the other. Doesn't matter which one, we're going to switch. Just, it's kind of interesting to know which one you automatically do. Just let yourself then relax your hands so that they release down into your lap, but you lengthen up through the top of your head. So you still feel really open across your chest. And enjoy your breath, coming in and going out through your nose. Feeling your breath coming into your belly. If you're comfortable to come towards those three-part breaths, you can let the breath come into the belly, then into the ribs, then up into your chest. And then let your hands switch. So the other hand comes on top. And again, the hands are really relaxed and they're just gently cupped and the palms face up. And again, you're just lengthening up through the top of your head, coming in to watch your breath. Your arms release right on down beside you, and let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead, and on our exhale let our hands come right down through the midline to be in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse our arms, inhaling the hands right up through the midline, and on the exhale open the arms on back out and down. And then inhale your arms out from your shoulders and flex your hands just for a second, feeling the undersides of the arms. And then let your fingertips come down, feeling more of the tops of your arms there. And then come back to palms facing down. And let's bring our arms forward of our shoulders and turn your thumbs down towards the ground and your pinkies up. And then bring one hand on top of the other. Clasp your hands, soften your shoulders down. And let the hands start to descend down. Now, you can let the hands stay down looking there at your hands. Or if you want to send the hands all the way up through that hole you've created, you might even want to rest your forehead there on your hands, right there between your eyebrows on your hands. That's only if the hands are up. It's fine to leave them down and release your neck just by bringing your head forward a little bit. One more breath there. And then send the hands back down if they were up and back forward of your chest. And we're just going to switch and let the other wrist come on top, hand come on top, soften your shoulders down. And then again, lowering the hands down, and you can keep looking at your hands. You can keep going, bringing the hands up and through if you choose. And again, if it's okay to rest your forehead there on your hands, do. Or maybe just tilt your head forward a little bit, right? That depends on you. And just breathe. Let yourself release there through your neck, your upper back. And then we'll send the hands, if they're up, back down and all the way forward and through, and let them come forward with your chest. And then release your arms on down beside you. Shake out your hands just a little bit. And let's stretch our legs forward. Whether we're on the floor or in the chair, let yourself move through by flexing and pointing your feet a few times. Just wake up through the ankles and the feet. And start to circle your feet around, whether you go the same direction, which might feel better, or maybe opposite direction feels natural. That's another thing that's kind of interesting. We're all different. Some people prefer to go the same way. Some people prefer to go opposite. Doesn't matter. Switch the direction, though, that you're going if you haven't already. Good. And if you're on the floor, leave your right leg out long and cross your left ankle. So if you're in your chair, you can cross your ankle above your knee. You can cross at your ankles if it's too much to bring that leg up. And then flex through that foot and imagine coming forward a little bit. And this is all up to you. If you know that your hip doesn't allow you to lean forward with a long back, don't do it. It'll open your hip just across your legs. If you want to bring your right hand onto that left foot, you can press the ball of your foot gently into your hand. You can even interlace your fingers between your toes if you want to make space between your toes. But be easy, be mindful of feeling the back of the neck long. So let your back of your head come into line with your spine, whether you're sitting up tall or a little forward. And just enjoy releasing through that hip there. One more breath. And stay crossed. As we come on back up, we're going to add a little twist here. Inhaling. And on the exhale, twisting to your left. So your right hand can come to your left knee or to the shin. Let the back arm release wherever's comfortable. Release down the back of your chair if you're in your chair, or fingertips just lightly touching the ground back there. And enjoy now. Feel the low belly just drawing in a little bit. So one more inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to come on back around through center, and we're going to go all the way into the other direction. So again, wherever your left hand wants to go. Back arm just releasing gently, fingertips lightly touching the ground, or arm down the back of your chair. Good. One more breath here. And then come back into center and float your arms back out from your shoulders and give yourself right arm on top of the left. Give yourself a hug. So just be easy there. Be mindful. You can let your head come down a little bit. I know some of you really love to come towards your entire full eagle wrap or half wrap, right? You can just send the backs of the hands a little towards each other. You don't have to go any farther than the hug if you don't want. Or you can come into the left hand coming onto that right palm if you're so inclined to do that, if your shoulders feel good that way. But just be mindful, let yourself release in between the shoulder blades on your back. And then we're going to unwind our arms, and we'll undo our legs, and we're going to switch legs. So stretch out if you need to between sides. And once you bring that right leg in, again, you can be below your knee. If you're in your chair and it's too much to cross above the knee, you can go onto your ankle. We're going to think of coming forward, flex through that foot. Let yourself, if you can come forward with that long back, do, or just imagine that you are. And again, hand on the foot. If you want to press that ball of your foot into your left hand, you can. So you're engaged a little deeper into the hip. So you want to interlace your fingers between your toes. Maybe you feel like massaging your foot a little bit, right? Just take it easy. Let it feel really good to find that release in that hip. Release in the back of your neck. Good. We're going to come on all the way back up. Take a nice inhale from here. And on the exhale, let's twist to our right. So the right arm comes behind you, left hand again, wherever's comfortable. Feel, again, that gentle engagement of your belly. So it's really low and deep. Just feel a gentle drawing in of the low belly. One more inhale. And on your exhale, release around, back around all the way through to the other side. Waking up the spine. Keep flexing through the right foot. So one more inhale. And let your exhale draw you back to center again. Float your arms up again. This time, left arm comes over, right, so we're on the opposite side. If you did the other side last time, see if you can do, reverse. And again, whether you decide to release your shoulders from that hug or not, bringing your hands towards each other, you can always put your right fingers to your left palm. And if you like that final little twisting of the thumbs towards the midline, feel free to do that. And just enjoy opening up through the shoulders wherever you have your arms. Good. One more breath here. And then let yourself release. Come on down with the arms. Uncross your legs and stretch your legs forward again and smooth through again your feet and your ankles. We're going to head around towards our hands and our knees from here. So if you don't want to be on your knees, get a blanket if you're down on the floor and you don't want to be on your knees. Or, of course, you can use your chair so that you have your hands up and you're standing up instead of being on your knees. And if your wrists bother you, really adjust, right? Holding the edge of the seat of the chair, being on fists if you're on the ground, or even coming down to your forearms or on your blocks or the floor or the chair, right? So that you're, instead of being aware of your wrist bothering you, you can focus on your spine. So let yourself start to move through and imagine your tailbone. Every single time that you start to move into cat or cow. So that it's the first thing you think about, that the tailbone moves, and then you either draw up into your cat pose or move through the spine as the belly comes down, the ribs and the heart melt down, coming into cow. But it's like this sequential movement that starts with your tailbone. Just keep your awareness there. Travel up the spine with your awareness as you move through. And remember, the breath typically is taught exhaling when you come into cat, inhaling when you move through to your cow, but it is fine to breathe the total opposite. There's not really a right or a wrong. Good. We're going to finish off the one that we're on. And we'll make our way back to more neutral spine. Look down between your hands. And just turn your head to look to the right. If you can, let your right arm float up too. You can reach it straight out from your shoulder. If you feel like reaching it higher, you can. All the way up, hand reaching up to the ceiling, towards the ceiling. And then coming on back down, we're going to go to the other side. So just looking to the left arm floats up, and as it comes a little bit higher, you decide when you want to stop. And then letting the hand come on back down. We're going to step our left foot forward and our right foot back and come into our first lunge here. So if you're using blocks, you've got all those three heights. You can pick the height that feels good. You can have your hands up on the seat of a chair. And the same thing about your wrist. If your wrists bother you here, switch from fists to fingertips to being flat on your hands if that's okay, so that you don't get, this sense of being uncomfortable in your wrist or your hands. Zip up your belly a little bit. Find the back of your head coming into line with your spine. We are going to switch legs, so how you choose to do that is totally up to you. Again, the height of your hands, up to you. Reach back through that heel. That left heel is reaching directly behind your foot, so you get the most out of your lunge. enjoy. Feeling it again, that sense of the length of your spine in the pose. Good. We are going to switch again. So once you come into that right foot back again, totally up to any of you who want to lift a hand or forearm up. If you want to bring your left hand or your forearm up to your thigh, you can. Totally, whether you decide you want to lift up or not, doesn't matter. Just gets you a little deeper into your legs and your hips. And then we're going to switch legs again. So remember, the feet are a little apart, like very narrow railroad tracks. That way you get a little bit easier balance if you do think of lifting up in a lunge. So you can bring a hand or hands up if you want. And we'll come down with hands if they're up. We're going to step forward and have our feet right underneath us. Be really mindful of your back. If you need a long back, elbows above your knees or hands on your chair. Stack your blocks up if you need to be up a little bit higher. But also, even if you don't normally bend your knees much, think about bending your knees a little more than you normally do. Feel that sense of the sitting bones being right over your heels, so you're not shifting your weight back behind you. Thus, a forward bend helps you get into the backs of the legs. And then just straighten one leg out at a time. Let your heels stay on the floor, so you're kind of walking in your forward bend. And try not to lock the knee when you straighten it, right? Don't jam back into your knee, but just drill easily and gently. Bend one knee at a time. Good. And then come back into both knees, either being a little bent or straighter if you want, but again, sitting bones over your heels. And now just watch your breath coming in and going out through your nose. Feeling the ribs expand in all directions as you inhale. And from here, we'll bend our knees a little bit deeper. We're going to bring our hands to our hips and rise on up to standing. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So coming into your mountain pose, take your time. Get your feet underneath you just how far apart you like. Remember, you're kind of lining up your hip pointer bones here with the center of your feet a little. If you need to be a little bit less or more wide, do. Parallel as you can be. And then bring your hands again back to meet in front of your chest. Spread your fingers out a little bit. Let yourself feel the fingers gently connecting in your thumbs. And don't force your palms together. Naturally feel whatever part of your palms touch each other there. And then as you feel rooted through your feet, imagine you're kind of drawing up. You're growing up out of your rooted feet. Thighs lifting up towards the hips. Pelvis aligns as your tailbone is just dropping down towards between your heels. And the hips naturally want to come over your ankles, shoulders over your hips. And think about your ears being over your shoulders too. So you're not jutting your chin forward, and you're also not tucking it back up under you, right? Find that place where your head feels like it's just floating up there on top. And we'll unfold our arms right on down beside us here now. And inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on your exhale, bend your knees a little bit as you come forward into that standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a nice long flat back, wherever you want your hands to go. Your legs, your chair, your blocks. We will step our right foot back and come into lunge here. So draw your shoulders down, away from your ears. Good. Inhale. And exhale into a downward facing dog pose. So your choice when you come into down dog. What height do you want your hands to be? Blocks, chair, floor. Take your time and you can adjust like how far back you step. Once you kind of get your hands situated, Let your feet come back as you reach back through your sitting bones and you find that length of your own spine. And the knees can stay bent. It's fine in dog. We're going to come on out towards a plank. You don't have to do a full plank. You come as far as you want to come. If you feel like you want to let your elbows bend a little tiny bit, you can find quite a bit going on without doing a full push-up. I mean, you can just, if you bend your elbows a little bit, hug them in towards each other. It's a lot of work. And then we'll come on back into down dog. So adjusting however you need. Walk a little bit if you can when you get to your dog. Bend a knee at a time and let your head feel real easy, turning a little bit side to side so you don't feel like you're tensing up in your neck and your jaw. Good, and we'll bring our right foot forward from here to come into lunge. So if you need to put your left foot knee down to get there, or both knees down to get there, do. Good. And we'll step all the way back into standing forward bend now. Feet hips distance apart, parallel. This feels good for you. And then whatever support you need. Let your head hang as long as it doesn't bother your neck. And then come into your breaths again. Now feel, if you can, your inhales and your exhales feeling as equal as possible, you know, and they're maybe not exact, but instead of spending a lot longer time on either one, see if you can count and try to reach close to the same count on your inhales and your exhales. Now if you can, see if you can let both get just a little bit longer. So if you were counting and you were going to 5, see if you can go to 7, you know, or just a little bit longer on both your inhales and your exhales. Nice, and then let your hands come on up to your hips. We'll bend our knees, rise on up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. As you exhale, let the top of the head reach up higher. Really feel your feet in the floor coming into your mountain pose. Hands lightly touching there. And then let's unfold our arms beside us and bring your hands behind you. Let the hands stay at center. Arms come pretty long. And then turn to look to the right. Let your chin come to the right. Keep the chin parallel to the floor. And then bring your hands up higher and send your hands to the left. And you might even fold the whole forearm onto the low back there, the right forearm. And let yourself, if you want to, squeeze your left palm in towards your right one. And then bring your gaze back to center slowly. And we're going to bring the hands back down to center. And now just turn to look to the left and let yourself be easy there. If your neck's kind of sore, be mindful. And then send your hands to the right. And if you want to fold your whole forearm to your low back, do. And again, it's optional if you want to squeeze your right palm in towards your left or not. You'll feel your bicep of your left arm and you're coming into your shoulders a little bit different way. And then let yourself turn on back to center with the head. Let the hands come on back to center too. And then release your arms on out beside you. And let's inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, bend your knees. Come on forward into your standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a nice long flat tabletop back. And we'll step the left foot back to come into lunge. So check out that front knee. Make sure you're not bending it out beyond your ankle there. And imagine, think of your inner thighs right now for a second. Imagine your right inner thigh, the front one, reaching down towards the ground. And your back inner thigh, the one behind you, reaching up. The left one reaching up towards the ceiling. And we're going to come into a downward facing dog pose from here. So take your time, reaching back again. Hands can be any height you want. Elbows hug in towards each other now. Imagine you're holding a soft beach ball between your elbows, right? So it makes it really soft and easy to hold. And then we'll come on out towards a plank. Now again, it's up to you if you do a full plank or not. Put your knees down, put your forearms down, and come to a forearm plank if you choose. And again, if you like to bend your elbows, maybe you like to do full push-ups. More power to you if you do. Just be where you can. Stay in your plank if you'd rather find that core strength. Good. We're going to come on back into down dog from here. Elbows hug in again. Feel your hands, whatever surface you're on, really feel your hands. And this time, left foot comes forward to find lunge. So again, you can put your right knee down to get there. Adjust your lunge to where you can be. Again, for a second, bring your awareness to your inner thighs. So your front left inner thigh is reaching down towards the ground. Your back right inner thigh is reaching up towards the ceiling. It's kind of interesting to think about that. It gets your hips really involved too in the pose. And we'll step forward from here and come on into standing forward bend. So take your time. I know a lot of you are fine in forward bends. Your backs don't bother you. You like to hold your elbows. Go for it if that is okay for you. Of course, use support, hands on blocks or chair, or forearms down to the chair, or whatever feels really good for you. And then just breathe. Again, those nice, easy breaths. Feel the weight of your head. And let your face be soft. Let yourself release your jaw. Imagine relaxing your throat even. And from here, we'll let our hands come right back to the hips. Bend the knees and come on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale the hands right up through the midline here now. Bend your elbows and let your hands just rest either the top of your head, maybe back behind a little bit. If it feels good to rise your elbows up a little higher, do it. Make sure if you do that you're not tucking your tailbone up under you, right? You're still reaching your tailbone down towards between your heels. One more breath. And then unfold your arms all the way out beside you here now. Palms up. Let the elbows soften down. One more inhale. And on the exhale, bend the knees. Come on back forward into your standing forward bend. And let your next inhale help you find a nice flat back. We're going to walk into a downward facing dog pose from here. So reaching back into down dog. And let your next inhale bring you out towards that plank. Those of you who like doing back bends, you're on your own to do the kind you want. You can come down to the floor, do a sphinx on your forearms. You can come through for an up dog or a cobra or no back bend at all. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. So take your time. If you need to walk a little bit in your dog, do, or, wag your tail around a little bit if you choose. Just move if it feels okay in your dog to kind of loosen up a little bit. And then let your next inhale bring you out again towards your plank. And again, it is totally optional to do any kind of back bend here. You can stay in your plank, you can do little push-ups, move to where you want, and then we'll make our way again back into downward facing dog pose. And from here, let's bring our left foot forward to come into lunge. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend again. So take your time to find your ease of that forward bend, again, using what support you need. And then go right to your breaths, in and out. And see if you can find those little spaces between your breaths. You're going to inhale, you're going to feel a little pause before you exhale. And the same thing at the end of your exhales. There's a little pause before you inhale. And see if you can, just by observing those little spaces, just pretend you're resting in those little spaces between your breaths. Hands to the hips now. We'll bend our knees, press into our feet and rise on up. We're going to inhale our arms out and up overhead. And on our exhale, we're going to lower our left arm down and let your left hand touch the outside of your left leg. Slide it down a little bit more. Come on into a side stretch here. Breathing into that right side. And then we'll rise back up and we're going to lower that arm down and we're going to inhale the left arm all the way out and up. Let the right hand touch the outside of your right leg and slide it down. And it might only be, a fraction of an inch. Doesn't need to be far. And just breathe into that left side. And then we'll rise on back up and we'll lower our arms on all arms down. And then bend your elbows and bring your hands to meet in front of your chest. Come into mountain pose easily. If you need to shift around a little bit, do. Feel as balanced as you can, really. So, balancing doesn't necessarily mean standing on one leg. Think about right now being balanced between the right and the left side of your body and between the front and the back of your body. So it's very easy to find that sense of standing in your mountain pose really effortlessly. And then we'll release our arms on down beside us and shake out a little bit. Move around with your feet if you need to. I'm going to turn my chair around. And this next one's so much easier done with a chair, but a lot of you don't have one. So make sure you have your blocks to the highest height. We're going to step back into a lunge with our right foot. But whether you're down on your blocks or up on the chair, maybe a little bit shorter stance because we're going to think of lifting up. And you want your feet wide enough to where when you think about coming up with your hands to your heart and bringing your shoulders up above your hips, that you have maybe a broader base, right? So if you're like, there's no way I'm coming up from there, from the blocks down here, just bring your hands maybe to your thigh and try that, right? If you're fine to come up, and the heel is reaching directly behind your foot. It's different than Warrior One. It's a variation of Warrior One. You can even bring your arms up overhead if you choose to. Or you can stay forward with your hands on your thighs or even keep your hands down on your blocks or your chair. So one more breath here. And then let your hands come on back down to blocks or the chair or wherever you want your hands. Make your lunge maybe a little bit longer if you choose because we're going to add a twist. We're going to bring our left hand to our left hip and roll our left shoulder up. Hand can stay down on your low back or you can stretch the arm up if you want. Just be mindful. Try to stay as level as you can here at your hips. Find that length out through the top of your head. Good. One more breath. And then let your hand come on back down. You're back to your lunge. Now all we're going to do is switch legs in the lunge. But remember, we're going to try to lift up. So you might want to widen your stance a little bit. If you send that left foot a little more to the left, you're in a bit of a bigger stance here. And then you can think, do I even want to come up at all? No. Do I want to think about it? Maybe. Right? If you feel like you want to think of bringing your hands up to your heart and being up with your shoulders over your hips, you can. And you can bring your arms up overhead if you choose. And if you don't want to do any of that, don't do it. Right? It's a hard pose. That variation of Warrior One. Heel off the floor. Really opens up through the front of the left hip. We're going to bring our hands back down, again, to the chair or to the blocks, whatever height. Now remember, we're going to add that twist, so you might want to vary your stance a little bit. And then we'll bring our right hand to our right hip and roll that shoulder up. And you can stretch your arm up or not. If you reach the arm up, sometimes it feels good. Sometimes your shoulder just says, no, I don't want to do that. So you can keep your hand down. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to release and come on back down. And let's step forward and get our feet right under us. And bend our knees and come on up to standing. We're going to inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our pose. Come into mountain pose. Enjoy Finding again that sense of balance between your right and your left, your front and your back. And then unfold your arms on down beside you, shake out a little bit. And this time we're going to come into Warrior Two. So again, have your blocks handy. We'll step the right foot back and line our heels up. So right foot back, left foot forward, bend that left knee. Remember how far apart you have your feet. It can be 2 feet, 18 inches, 3 feet, 4 feet. It's just important that bend of that front knee. You want to be able to see your toes. So if I bend my knee out over my toes, man, that's a lot of pressure. So be very mindful of your knee there. And then just let your hands come to meet there in front of your chest. And we'll unfold our arms then onto touching our thighs, and then turn your head to look back behind yourself over your right shoulder. Let your right arm float on up and out. So you're looking out over the top of the right hand. And now start to turn your head back around, and we're going to start to look to the left and float that left arm on up and out. So now you've got your arms way lined up, right? You're reaching out through your fingertips, shoulders are softening down. Warrior Two. And imagine you're trying to lengthen your mat with your feet, so you feel the toes deeply into your hips here. And then we'll put our right hand down on our right leg and turn our left palm up. Slide your right hand down a little bit as you lengthen upward, breathing into the left side in your reverse warrior. So one more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come into side angle. So your left hand or forearm can be on your thigh. You can decide about adding the right arm up into line. Whether you want to do that or not is up to you. And, you know, the height that you are with your hand or your forearm on your thigh is up to you. But lengthen the torso out over that front leg. Really see if you can let yourself find that left outer hip drawing back a little bit more. One more breath. And we're going to come on back to Warrior Two, pressing those feet away from each other as we come. And now we'll let our hands come down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel for a wide-legged forward bend. So adjust your stance if you need. Grab your blocks, of course, if you need to. And you can bring your hands down either to the blocks, any height, or the floor. And then bend one knee at a time once you get there, if your knees let you do that. So remember, you want your feet to be at least as wide as your outer shoulders. And if you can make them wider, do. If you can make them even farther apart, but don't force anything. And then come on back into, so the hips are at center. Remember, knees can be bent or straight in this pose. And let's walk our hands over towards the right, whether we use our blocks to walk over a little bit, or maybe you want to walk over and hold on to your right outer ankle or foot, right? It's up to you. And then come on back to center. And again, you can shift just with your blocks, walking over a little bit to the left, or bring yourself over to hold the outside of the ankle or the foot. Good. And then we'll come on back into center again and take your time. We're going to stay in this pose for a few breaths, so you do want to be comfortable. You don't want to feel like your back is in discomfort of any kind. So support if you need to. If you need to keep your back long, you can always stack your blocks up and get up higher so your back can stay lengthened. Or you can put your elbows above your knees. That will lengthen the spine as well, because you press into your elbows there and you just lengthen out through the spine. And just be mindful, if you need to keep the back of your head in line with your spine, do. If you can let the head release and hang a bit, do. Or, you know, use blocks under your head too, that works. And just enjoy. Again, see if you can just gently, imagine you're trying to lengthen your mat. So you're pressing your feet gently away from each other. You feel the inside of the legs, you feel the outside of the legs. Good, one more breath. And now to come on back up to standing. You adjust however you need. If you need to bring your feet closer together first, do, or make your way up and then bring your feet together, whatever works. Just move around a little bit. We are going to go to the other side, so if you need to move through your feet and ankles, do. Left foot's going to step back. Heels are going to line up. And again, that alignment of that front knee, bending out over the center of your foot. If it helps you to kind of like let your hand release to your inner thigh a little bit, sometimes that gets the knee to go right out over the center of the foot. And then bring your hands to your heart for a second. And again, feel very equal. Even though the front knee's bent, the back leg's straight. See if you can feel that balance right to left. And then lower your arms down. We're going to look back over our back left shoulder, and we're going to slowly float the arms straight out from the shoulder there. You know, if your shoulders bother you, do what you have to with the height of the hand. Leave it down if you need to. We're going to turn our head back to the right, and we're going to float that right arm on up and out, reaching out through the fingertips. Really letting yourself feel your whole body in the pose, feet gently pressing away from each other. And we'll lower our left hand down, turn our right palm up, and inhale, lengthening through that right side of the body. It doesn't matter where you look. You know, if your neck bothers you, don't look up. And on your next exhale, coming into that side angle. So again, it can be your right hand there above your knee on your thigh. It can be your forearm if you want. And you can add that left arm or not. You know, the left hand can stay down, lengthening your torso out over that front leg. And there's this long line down the left side of the body, extending through the spine here. One more breath. And we're going to come on back to Warrior Two. Let the feet press gently away from each other. And we'll let our hands come down here, get our feet parallel again for that wide-legged forward bend. And make your way forward. Grab your blocks if you need them, of course. And take your time. If you need to bend your knees, you need to adjust your stance, do it. And then just see about letting yourself get your back nice and long so you can feel whether your knees bend or not. You can feel your feet pressing away from each other, and you can lengthen out through the top of your head. So you have a nice long flat back. Good. And then you decide, what do you want to do to stay in your pose with your breath? Do you want to stack up to be supported like that with your back long? Do you want to put your elbows above your knees to support a back long like that? Or does it feel fine to you to bring your hands down towards between your feet, right? And let your head hang. And that's just not for everybody. You have to just be aware of how your back feels. And now feel the breath expanding the ribs in all directions as you inhale. And find those little spaces between your breaths. Again, imagining you're resting in those little spaces between your breaths. It's almost like you kind of float in those little spaces. And now to rise back up again, you know, take your time. If you need to let the feet come closer together, and if you're dizzy when you rise up, keeping your legs wide a little bit longer can help. And then take your time, move through, hold on to something if you need to. And we are going to, instead of coming into balance at the wall, we're going to balance on our mats because there's more of us here today. So either turn your chair, the seat around to face you, or get your blocks, or if you don't know which one you want, bring your hands down and you'll soon know whether you want to have your hands on the blocks or up higher on a chair, right? And try the highest height of your blocks if you can. Let your feet come a little closer together so that when you decide you're going to lift your right foot up off the floor, you feel like you're standing on that left leg in the right place. And if you don't, put the right foot back down, shift the foot a little bit so that when you do take the right foot up, you feel okay, right? And then stretch the leg back, brief warrior three, your toes are facing down, and then come up to your fist on your right hand, or maybe even your fingertips. And open the toes of the right foot away from the floor. There's a half moon right there. So you don't have to think of balancing at all. You know, you can if you want. You can bring your hand up onto your right hip if you want to balance a little bit. If you're up in the chair, let me tell you, it's 1,000 times easier. I keep saying I'm going to make you guys use a chair, but you know, it's totally up to you. You can play a little bit with your balance there. You can stretch the right arm up if you want. If you're like, no thank you, it's fine. And then we're going to bring the hand down, bring the foot down, bend both your knees for a second. And now once the knees are bent and you're even between your feet, lift your left foot up. And now again, you might not be in the right place. If you need to adjust, do. And then send that left foot back, toes down as warrior three. And now when you think about shifting onto the fist of the left hand or the fingertips, that enables you to open the hip a little bit, toes away from the floor. And you can decide if you want to stretch that left arm up or bring your left hand up to your hip or not, right? You're opening your hip. You don't have to add the whole balance part of it here. This is the one that's fun to do at your kitchen counter, right? You lean back into it, you put your foot up on it, and you lean back, and it's awesome. You can just use the counter behind you, and of course we do it at the wall. And then come on down with that foot. You can squat however you choose here. You can put your elbows above your knees, shift your hips back. You can come all the way down into a squat if you want to. Just depends on your knees and your hips, right? Whether you want to turn your toes out and come down, or you want to keep your knees forward if you want to come down into a squat. Just let it feel good, and don't force anything. Just let it feel like a huge release for your low back and your hips. Good. And we are actually going to come all the way down to the floor and sit. So if you know sitting is better off for you done on a blanket or a block and a blanket, we are going to come down and bring our soles of our feet in front of us together. Now, at first, even if you don't usually do this, keep your feet farther away from you. If you want to use blocks and support yourself here, do it. Keep your feet far away for just a second and let yourself, if this bothers your knees, remember, you can always go up higher too, right? And if it's too much, don't do it. And then take your time. Think about coming forward with a nice long back with your feet way out like this. You've got this diamond shape, right? This empty space is a diamond shape. And hopefully, if you come forward just a little bit, it feels even more like a release in your hips. So, I mean, you can stay right there. Some of you, you might go, oh, I just want to just go all the way down. If you do, let yourself do it. It depends on how you're belting your hips. So, you know, if you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to just put my head down, then you can let yourself do that. But otherwise, just be mindful and do something that doesn't feel good. Good. One more breath wherever you are. And then come on back up. Let your hands come behind you, if you can, and open your chest here. So if you stay up on your fingertips, fine. If you're up high on a block, maybe you just want to reach your arms back a little bit and not lean back, right? So be careful. Oh, you're down here. And think about, you have a string attached right here to your sternum. Somebody's pulling it forward on a diagonal line, right? So you've just got this huge release forward in the chest and openness in the front of the body there. Good. One more breath. And then let yourself come up. Now, just for fun, if you want a little bit more, you don't have to do this part. you can bring your feet in closer. And if you want to just sit and sit tall, hold on to your ankles. Just make sure you don't pull your feet up off the floor with your hands. You can hold your ankles and sit up tall. Some of you might want to lean back and pick your feet up and balance a little bit. If you're on a block, just be really mindful. You might not want to be. No. You don't want to be leaning back and balancing. But if you're on the floor and it feels like fun, you can try it. If you want to do more, you can let one leg come long. You don't have to go all the way long, but you can hold on to your ankle. You may decide, well, heck, I want to reach down and get my foot, or I want to straighten my leg out a little bit. And then you can switch and go the other side, doesn't matter. Just let yourself play. You don't have to do these. And actually, to do one leg long is harder than doing both legs at the same time. And if you do want to try both legs at the same time, it's almost kind of like a bear pose, right? It's kind of like feeling like you're in goddess in a way, too. And again, if you feel like you want to try to lengthen your legs out long, you still want to keep your spine long, too. And then we'll bring our feet on back down. Good. And bring yourself forward again just a little bit. Bring a little relief. And then let your hands come right to the outside of your knees and lift your knees up. Bring your feet on the floor here. Now some of you, I'm going to turn sideways, okay, just so. Some of you might want to bring your hands onto blocks, even forearms, right? But if you can, be on your hands do, on the blocks or the floor. And let your elbows just hug backwards a little bit. Now, if you want to lift up into a 4-footed table, you can. And not everybody's shoulders can even think of doing that. So don't do it, right? If it feels okay just to stay here and breathe, maybe you'd rather have your hands on the floor and turn them backwards, fingertips backwards. And that might be an easier way to lift up, too, into 4-footed table. That's the only thing my shoulders could do for years. And then it became more comfortable to turn the fingertips forward. So don't push it. Stay. If you feel like I don't want to lift up at all, stay there. You can just lean back a little bit, draw your chest up without lifting up with your hips. Nice. And then come on back down with the hips. Let yourself come on forward. Move your blocks out of the way. Hold on behind your thighs. Lean back just a little bit. And now, see if you can lift your heels off the floor, but you still have the balls of your feet on the floor. Now, that's a hard boat pose if you want to know the truth. If you stay right there, that's a lot of work. If your back starts to bother you, release a little bit, rest. You can come with the feet up off the floor and the lower legs parallel to the floor. If you press the outside of your big toe mounds together with your feet flexed, you can separate your heels a little bit, and maybe you want to let go of your legs, and maybe you don't. You can hold on to the outside of your legs. That's another thing that's fun. And press the outside of your legs into your hands. Sometimes that enables you to straighten your legs up too, if you want to know the truth. So just play a little bit. If you're like, I hate this pose, put your hands back behind you maybe. Give you a little support. If your back bothers you, stop doing it, right? So we're going to come on down from there and let yourself bring your feet wide on your mat, and then just let your knees come to one side. And then when you're ready to switch, you just bring them up and over the top and go to the other. So just be mindful. Go back and forth a couple, 3 or 4 times. And if it feels really good, just let yourself go a little faster or slower, right? Good. And then from here, we're going to come on back, and we're going to lower ourselves down to the floor, however you want to go. If you want to roll down, you can. If you're like, no, my spine does not like that, you come down to the mat how you need. Bring your right knee into your chest and extend your left leg down long on the floor. You can hold behind your thigh, or you can hold your shin, doesn't matter. Feel the leg gently pressing into your hands, and see if you can. Let your arms go straight. So that leg comes far enough away from you that your arms are straight. And you can feel that natural curve in your low back. And now we'll bring the left knee in and we'll extend the right leg long. And again, hold behind the thigh if you'd rather, or the shin, but let the leg come into your hands, let your arms go straight. So you're not pulling the knee in, instead you're pulling the knee away from you. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to switch again. Bring that right knee in, stretch the left leg long, and then put your right foot on the floor, right to the inside of, above your knee, above your left knee, right? And then from here, this is kind of different. You're going to think of kind of rolling to the right side and reaching your right hand down towards your right ankle. And if you can get your right ankle, hold on to it, right? If you can't get it, just kind of put your hand as close to it on the floor as you can. And then reach your left arm up overhead. It's a side stretch. And let yourself kind of reach that left arm in towards your head a little bit. So you're coming into a pretty deep side stretch on the ground on your left side here. So you're still on your back, but you're breathing into that left side. And you can turn that left palm up towards the ceiling if you want. You can turn it to where your thumb is down towards the floor. You can play with that arm up there. One more breath. And then slowly come back with your spine into center. Use your arms to help you. Kind of reposition yourself back. Straighten yourself out. Bring your left knee in towards your chest. Extend your right leg down long on the floor. And then put your left foot on the floor. Again, you might want to try to get it pretty high up, but I know not everybody's knees will do that, right? So if you can reach your left hand down, think about trying to get your ankle. By all means, don't force it. Go as much as you can. Right arm up overhead, and then you're kind of reaching over to the side. You can maybe even pull yourself a little bit more. Again, you can rest the back of your hand on the floor or towards the floor. You can turn. You can let your palm face, outward so the thumb's down. You can look down if you want, kind of towards your left hand and ankle down there. Release your neck. Breathe into that side. Nice. One more breath. And now we're going to come on back. Now again, you've got to kind of lift yourself up, inch your way back. It feels kind of really odd to get back into center. Bring your feet onto the floor now. Good. And now just let yourself do a couple of little pelvic tilts just to even out a little bit. Curl the tailbone up a little. Feel your back releasing into the ground when you exhale. Good. And then come on back to neutral spine. Bring your arms down alongside you. Let's do a little bridge pose. Feet, how far away you are from your buttocks, totally up to you. If it feels good to get your heels in to where your fingertips can touch your heels, that's fine. Maybe you don't want to be that close. And then bend your elbows and press into the backs of your arms, floating on up into a little bridge pose. Roll your shoulders under. If you feel better to grab a block right away and come down onto a block, you can come into that supported bridge where you're supported right there, really low, right at the base on that flat, on your sacrum. That flatness at the base of the spine is on the block. Or you can not use the block at all. You can stay up in your bridge pose, move up and down out of bridge pose, of course, if you choose to. So take your time. If you feel like you want to stay and release on that block, by all means do. And I know a lot of you like to do that. You like supported bridge. If you like supported bridge and you want to play when you're on the block with your either a leg coming up in the air or even being on the block and letting one leg go long so that you reach in, you open up the front of your hips, So if that feels good, you can just be mindful. We're all different, so allow your body to kind of go where you need. If you want to go higher, remember you've got 3 heights to that block. Or the highest height's really high though, so Be mindful. Good. Your time. Like if you are already down, be sure you bring your knees in towards your chest to let your back release. If you're not down, just kind of think about coming down and releasing your back there. And then bring your arms out into a T position. Now for these double knee twists, some of you might want to put your feet on the floor first and let your knees come over to the left. Or some of you might feel really comfortable to have your knees in towards your chest and then let the knees come over and rest so that you have the legs on the outside of your left leg on the floor, right? Not for everybody. So support if you want with a block underneath the outside of your leg. Put your feet on the floor first, which is usually a little less extreme, but not always, right? And then you take your time. You go from one side to the other when you're ready. So that might mean you'd like to move continuously. You know, you might just want to exhale to one side, inhale when you come back up, exhale to the other side. And if you kind of go, well, I would really like to do something else, let yourself do it. If you decide that you'd rather do another form of a twist, like maybe you'd rather bring one knee in towards your chest, let it come across the body, or you may decide that you'd like to cross one thigh over the other and come into a twist that way. Just take your time. Start to walk around and you're getting lights first. And then you finish what you're doing. Make sure you spend as much time as you need for your body to be comfortable so that when you do come into Shavasana, you're ready to be there. And I know that blankets, bolsters, so I'm going to start to head around with bolsters. And, you know, be mindful. If I don't have the size enough for the size bolsters, I have plenty of blankets to roll up, which can be used like bolsters underneath your knees, right? Don't give up on me, I'm still moving around. I'm still looking. I need anybody to wave that might need anything. If you need a blanket, remember I take everything home and wash it. If you need a blanket for cover or for your feet or for behind your head for a little bit of a pillow, let me know. Just wave at me. And be mindful if you need to move your arms, your legs around a little bit to get more comfortable, do so your shoulders and your hips feel at ease. And you can just receive your breaths easily in and out through your nose now. Just watching the breath, watching the waves of your breath. when your mind wanders off, which it always does, it's okay. Just softly bring your awareness back. And you know, sometimes counting breaths helps you do that. Sometimes thinking a word. When you inhale, a different word. When you exhale, sometimes that's helpful to refocus. Just give yourself the gift of these few minutes. Allowing your body and your brain to experience those little quiet places. And just let yourself completely and fully relax. breath to deepen, still receiving your breaths, but letting them come in and go out a little more fully and deeply again. Letting those deeper breaths bring you back into maybe wanting to move fingers and toes when you're ready, your hands, your feet. You might want to circle through your feet and hands a little bit to let your ankles and your wrists come back to moving, and just let your arms and legs, when you're ready, do what you need so that you come back into moving very naturally for you. You know you're welcome to stay on your back, to roll to either your right or your left side if that's comfortable for you, to be on your side. You can come into a soft fetal position there. Just enjoy the ground a little bit longer. Take your time. So that when you are ready to rise up to sitting, it feels like the next natural thing to do, to come up to sitting again, and let your legs get to a very comfortable way for you to sit for your hips. Let your eyes stay closed if you can, so that you can just stay inwardly focused a little bit longer. Lengthening up through the top of your head once you're seated comfortably. And then let your hands come to rest in a comfortable way for your shoulders. And sometimes that's turning your palms up and resting the backs of your hands on your legs somewhere, but not necessarily. So just get comfortable in your shoulders, lengthening up through the top of your head, watching your breath coming in and going out through your nose. And on your next exhale, let your hands come gently to meet there in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste. Namaste. Happy Monday, everyone. Albeit a very rainy one. I will get some lights here.